Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. It's 1:39. May 26th, 50 years ago today, the Grateful Dead played one of the greatest concerts ever. The Morning Dew from it is quite good. Also, the rest of the show is quite good. Two Souls and Communion. It's my favorite 1972 Grateful Dead show. Is today, 50 years ago. And I don't have much to say. Um, I don't like reviewing records, but um, I do feel the need to communicate something um, every day. Uh, the same way I'm trying to improve my health and improve whatever stability, finances. I would also like to improve the internet, the sort of slot machine that we're all being fed through social media, through I go on YouTube a lot. I had to delete. I never even had a Facebook. I deleted Instagram because it would drive me insane. And then YouTube started to kind of drive me insane similarly because I would find that YouTube would essentially reinforce whatever bad behaviors I was doing by if I was getting into occultism, if I was getting into it starts feeding me a bunch of tarot, starts feeding me a bunch of astrology, which for a person with a fragile mind that's seeking like an astrological prediction or like looking up esoteric mysticism in order to sort their lives out rather than dealing with more pragmatic kind of matters of getting their health in order and abstaining from alcohol and drugs which hijack your free will. Instead of sending you that information, it sends you like, here's a bunch of stuff about weed. Here's a bunch of stuff about more esoteric mysticism. Here's a bunch of, oh, the other day I was reading the Kabbalah, the ancient African stuff. That's that's its whole thing. That those Egyptians, they were onto some stuff. I like reading all this stuff. I love to read mythology. It's what I want to do is read and interpret mythology. Um, if I try to write, the, the authors that I want to write like are the ones who write myths. Um, anyway, but YouTube, like, okay, so I was trying to superficially test the YouTube algorithms by just feeding them a bunch of different contradictory information and seeing, okay, what's YouTube's solution to this personality? I think personalities are mutable. I don't believe in personality disorders. I've been diagnosed with one, borderline. I've been diagnosed by YouTube as INFJ CPTSD. No border, no lines, just just a little introvert with a messianic complex. Just the INFJ, just a moody. I love INFJ, by the way. Anytime somebody puts INFJ in their profile, instant swipe. INFJ, that's my type. Even though it's not a type, it's just. I mean, it is a personality type, but yeah, wait for the DSM in 30 years. You'll see a lot of the things that are types are just personalities, but they're now labeled as diseases, like bipolar, autism, things like that. Um, but yeah, so basically, it's like, okay, well, I kind of gave up on just trying to actually physically interact with people. Um, so yeah, I haven't physically like expressed affection to a person in 5 years since before I left Chicago for Chicago from California. So yeah, I've been trying that Taoism stuff. Been trying that like if you put out wanting good, then bad will come to you. If you put it wanting bad, then good will come to you. If you, I tried to, I can't, I can't exist that way. I don't want, like, the most important things in my life are relationships, connections to people, and trying to help others. It's when I feel the most in tune with love, most in tune with God, or most in tune with my deepest sense of, like, purpose and belonging, is when I'm trying to transcend that ambivalence. I think there's a sort of passivity that's encoded in the Eastern mysticism, specifically with the reincarnation caste system from the very ancient. You want to go back to the Vedas and the Gita. There's very indoctrinated fatalism. There's, you have a certain fate, and all your life is a grand drama. You're playing out this fate. You go back earlier. Actually, there is nothing earlier than the Vedas. The Vedas are older than time. The Taoism, the root of what Buddhism eventually becomes, sort of systematization of Taoism, is Socrates to Buddhism's Aristotle. Like, it's the scientification of Taoism. But what does Taoism ultimately encourage? Passivity. It ultimately encourages sit in silence, breathe and stretch, let go. Nothing's real. There's nobody to think. There's nothing to think. There's no one to think it. There's no one. Nothing is real. I'm not here. This isn't happening. I knew I loved Radiohead for a reason. Um, yeah, disassociate. Just be content in nature. And I guess there are some people that are, like, spiritually super developed. They can sit in a cave, wait for somebody to bring them lentils, and they can find that to be quite rewarding. For me personally, pretending like I want a monastic life, pretending like I want to be a hermit, has only, like, ramped up times 1,000 my neurosis, my judgments of myself and others. And then quarantine, it's like I couldn't even work. I couldn't even do the things that made me feel like I had a crude facsimile of a social life where I could interact with people at least. It was like, no, now everything's from home. Now everything is just, you just fill out boxes on a computer, hope you did good enough to get a paycheck the next time. Um, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. It's not how we're supposed to live. Um, I don't think that passivity is what should be encouraged. I think the opposite is closer to the truth. In my understanding of God, I don't think I understand the nature of God. I believe in several gods. I, under deep states, interacted with entities that were, some were demonic, some were angelic, some were alien seemingly, some were made out of either sacred geometry or mechanics, like vehicles, uh, ships, flotillas. Um, yeah, you can use the 8-dimensional method that the narcotic shamans use, which is that we perceive 3 dimensions: fourth dimension time, fifth dimension dream state. So dream state is actually closer to inner reality than consensus reality, which is waking reality. Um, I believe waking reality is some sort of purgatory, and the dream state is kind of like an arbiter between subconscious, psychic intuition, deeper, like what's going on at the deepest level, that trying to sort of guide you by, it's like a defragging process on a computer, I think, is what happens when we go into sleep, specifically deep sleep, REM sleep, which is why it's so important to me to discourage people from drinking alcohol regularly, because they're hiding from themselves. They're hiding from the message that spirit has to give them, because you're not even dreaming, they're passing out. Same thing with marijuana. Marijuana also prevents you from having dreams. If you notice you quit smoking marijuana, you get super intense dreams as if there's tons of like backed up subconscious psychic information that's just dying to you'll get these very lucid dreams, these very vivid dreams. Um, and I think that's because we're supposed to sleep. We're supposed to eat relatively healthy. And we're supposed to get rest at night. Um, any drug that makes your body able to function without going through those things, you're going to feel tremendously off balance. That's right. I want to discourage people from using intoxicants, which again is one of the main principles of Buddhism. Uh, although many of the great practitioners of Buddhism, like any priestcraft, are complete hypocrites. Alan Watts died of alcoholism. Chogyam Trungpa, name it. Ram Dass was spun. Like, yeah, they were all using these shortcuts. But how do you get to the thing without the shortcut? Right? That's what my pickle is. I don't really know. I'm really trying genuinely to just be in gratitude. I'm incredibly grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that I grew up with a kind, loving family for the most part, although I did experience some trauma and abuse. It's primarily due to things that were beyond their control. And trying to forgive myself, forgive others, and just remain in a space of gratitude. Um, there's nobody that I dislike that I've ever met. Even people that I thought I hated, I eventually realized I was either scared of them or it was some imbalance in myself that I was like projecting onto this other person. But I don't think there are good people. I don't think there are bad people. Then you get into the whole okay, so if should we all just live in a place where everything is communal and shared? I have lived in those types of settings. Like what I find is the same social dynamics and ego-based stuff and sexual stuff and traumatization stuff comes amplified in those situations because it's like they're almost putting the cart before the horse. They're trying to like live in a utopian communal society, but screw those people in that communal society. Screw those homeless tweaker people. They're beyond help. Screw those personality disorder people. Screw those borderline people. Screw those people are beyond help. They're narcissists can't be fixed. Uh whatever. Insert psychiatric diagnosis of immutable, which will in 30 years be in the DSM, not even as a mental illness, turns out. Um, but yeah, we live in the whatever. We live in the present moment, and that's all we have. So that's the main thing that I'm grateful for is that I still get to be here. Um, and I have people who care about me. Not a lot, but the people that care about me know that I care about them. I hope, and I'm trying to get better at expressing love to those people. Um, and yeah, I'm not really interested in most of what like the YouTube videos are like. Here's how to get laid. It's like, do you understand how traumatized I've been sexually? It's like, here's how to get money. It's like, do you understand how many rich friends I've had that have committed suicide? Or people that are just endlessly drug addicts because they have access to money. It's like what society wants out of any of us is to be worker drones. They want us to give the same thing reliably every day. And if you put any sort of wrench in the works of the algorithm, you try to do anything that's subversive, unless it's in line with what's currently accepted as suitable neurosis or the the forms of psychosis that are in alignment with the way society wants you to be controlled. So like hungover, hungry, horny, angry, that's great. Society knows exactly what to sell you with that. Why are psilocybin mushrooms and ayahuasca illegal and the alcohol you can buy at every corner store is because it is a mass opiate to keep you from realizing your full potential. I was very deeply addicted to alcohol, and I've had friends die of alcohol abuse, drunk driving accidents, being in and out of AA for a long time. Um, you see firsthand alcohol destroying people's lives. It almost killed me multiple times. And so you just want to prevent that from befalling anybody else that you care about. But yeah, if you're a survivor of trauma, you have like a hair trigger on your emotions, right? So that black or white thinking, those cognitive distortions, as they're written about in the DSM, I can practice psychology. I have a major in it. I understand the Freudian Jungian things fairly well. I just disagree with most of them. Um, I think Foucault is the most insightful writer to talk about madness and um, the societal history of how we've actually pathologized, turned basically uh, mentally interruptive people into sick people with a chronic incurable disease, which isn't true now, has never been true. However, it has been the agenda of psychotherapy um, to make these immutable laws, to make these diagnoses. As somebody who has had neurological diagnoses where it's like, oh, I can't get out of bed, I'm in so much pain, to hear lumped in as immutable disease something like addiction or something like narcissism, it just demonstrates complete misunderstanding of what actual disease is. And so it's very difficult to hear that, to go to an AA meeting and hear somebody say, alcoholism's the worst disease that there is. It's like, oh, I guess I'll just stop going to my neurologist then and stop spending all of my fucking energy and resources in order to stop this neurological brain eating disease that I have, because that's not important. What's important is I didn't have a drink today. I smoked a pack of cigarettes. I didn't exercise at all. I didn't help a single person, but I didn't drink, and I hung out outside of a church parking lot. So I'm spiritual, even though I'm getting into codependent relationships right away, even though I'm not actually like sacrificing my own personal property and status in order to shed light on the mental health addiction crisis that is raging in our country. Um, it's just, it's another process addiction. Unfortunately, I wish that it were something more noble than that. But AA is a group of symbiotic codependents that are moving from physical addiction to process addiction. Process addiction is better than physical addiction. Me reading astrology and tarot and trying to figure out like the secret numeric codes of the Kabbalah or the Vedas, like that's a process addiction. That's a way to keep me from actually interacting with other people and growing emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Um, it's a defense mechanism. It's an elaborate defense mechanism. The thing I love about AA is, and why I stayed in it for so long, is because it emphasizes so much personal accountability and not being a victim. I grew up with every opportunity, seemingly, other than the traumatic stuff, which I won't go into. I've gone into in past videos. Care. Um, but it's it's sad. It's sad for me to see that people just get out of like the hole. Just get out of like that terrible hole of every day I need to drink, every day I need to get high. And then they're content to just be slightly above that hole. To be in the like, well, our team fights for good, and those people stay away from those people. It's it is an improvement. This is definitely an improvement. Um, I probably would have benefited more in the past couple of years from just forcing myself to go to AA meetings and just feign like it's holding my interest and shake hands with people, get phone numbers, then I'd have people to get coffee with, right? But what if you actually want to become more enlightened spiritually? Then simply abstinence from alcohol is a requirement for the foundation of my life, which and helping other alcoholics is a way to ensure that you're reminded that um, there's no it provides structure and accountability at a time where if you're really desperate for it, um, it can be immensely helpful. And I strongly recommend it to people who don't know what to do, don't know where to go, just feel like they have their head backwards. Um, all I'm suggesting is that once you've been able to sustain some period of abstinence from substances, that simply helping other alcoholics isn't sufficient at a certain point to like fill your spiritual quota if you actually want to grow beyond um you know being stuck in a higher level system. It's like hugs not drugs, right? It's like it's whatever. It's like, well, why do I need hugs? You do need hugs. I could use a fucking hug, dude. Anyway, I don't want to be. I don't want. This is not. There's no more victim. No more. It's all bullshit. I just want to make a thing every day. I don't know. I started making things, and then uh, YouTube started banning things that I was making, so I just stopped. You can ban this if you want. I don't really care. Thought it might help somebody struggling with something similar than I am, considering you have us all, pretty segregated into algorithms. Not like when YouTube was good, not like when music was good, but corporate that's the corporate approach is top down. It's like, okay, here's the genres. Here's the oh, you like this type of thing? How about forever we feed you that thing? Because you'll keep clicking. You'll pay the $20 a month to not hear the ads in between you clicking. But we just want you to stay on the same thing. We just don't want you to be an unpredictable thing because that's dangerous. This is actually written in the DSM. People who basically aren't brainwashed into thinking that they have one immutable personality are actually a threat to society. They're actually the most dangerous type of personality. Um, so yeah, um, anybody who's made significant spiritual progress in the world, they would be considered a danger to the hegemony of psychoanalysis. Um, but what about the people who psychoanalysis isn't adequate for? Um, then you get into the thing of like, well, are the people who have really intense trauma, really intentionally emotionally disabled, can be very dangerous to use the actual medicines, not the pharmaceutical pills, the actual plants that teach you about spirit. It can be dangerous, and sometimes exacerbate things if you use the actual medicine. Um, because it's risky. But is it any more risky than just seething in a church basement, pretending that you believe in a creator God and begging for him for forgiveness? Um, I don't know. I found them to both experientially be similarly kind of like win loss in terms of you do catch like a glimpse of potential, but without the emotional tools, a daily constant, just like do your amends, do your lists, right? So again, process addiction, therapy, self therapy, good free therapy. This is why I prefer AA to psychoanalysis. At least AA is free. AA provides as much structure, help, and wisdom as 99 point something percent of psychoanalysts. In my experience, yours is probably completely different. You're a different person than me. Post your own video. That's the point of doing this. Is if I can do this, what the fuck are you doing? You have better stuff to say than me. I'm just an acid casualty. I'm currently unemployed. I live with my folks, my parents, in my mid 30s. Uh, Right now, I'm trying to sell all of my artwork that I've purchased over the years, um, just to not have to work at Home Depot again or work at the movie theater again. Um, yeah, but maybe I'd be happier doing those things. Maybe I'll just start reapplying for those jobs that I've had before. Um, Perhaps that is the most efficient, least circuitous path to just find direct connection with people. For instance, doing AA for years when I wasn't working, I was really not in a healthy place mentally or emotionally. It was only when I started actually working, not sponsoring people, like working a job, like full time, like you're dependent on, like you're covering other people's shifts. Like it was only when I started to do that that I actually felt, oh, okay, like this is, I am an adult and I'm accountable to people and I have, whereas for me, the self-help group structure, in addition to the smuggled Christian dogmatism, which I think is toxic, um, and will kind of lead you to eventual relapse. Um, in addition to that, I've just found that talk is cheap. AA teaches you a bunch of prayers, teaches you a bunch of strategies, but they're like shortcuts. It's like they'll take this beautiful passage from a spiritual thing and then give you like this reductive, dumbed down version of it. Um, Kind of like the Bible does with the myths that it borrowed from. I mean, the Torah with the myths that it borrowed from, and then acted like it was one myth when there's like literally different creation stories. Um, anyway, at least I have books. I do like to read. I like to write too. I just haven't written anything good enough to put out yet. Um, for myself. Um, I, yeah, yeah. I don't know. maybe I'm a malignant narcissist. Um, Perhaps that's the reality. Um, I hope that's not the case. I already got one malignant thing. You're gonna give me fucking narcissism too? Um, Also, it's like if I have low self-esteem and my actions are all like I'm motivated out of fear, then how do I express the opposite of that? I would think it would be to like honestly speak about how I'm thinking and not like censor that, but just like be honestly who I am in the moment, flaws and all. Um, but then that is perceived as narcissism because I'm making it about myself, like I'm important. Like I don't have any fucking mirrors in my house. I do not like to see myself. I make these videos to force myself to see actually what I look like. Um, I don't enjoy the process of making these videos. I think they actually might help someone. And if they help just one person, then that's way better than me sitting around and reading another book about Taoism or reading some Pema Chodron and then not applying any of those principles. With the internet, it seems to me like it's kind of a Pandora's box. It's like now everybody can communicate. Now art and communication is worthless and not there's no curator, right? Which is great. It's early stage anarchy. I'm here for late stage anarchy. If I'm not dead by then. Um, but yeah, the early stage anarchy of the internet can be incredibly overwhelming to people, particularly emotionally sensitive people who've been through trauma. So I would be really careful about what you let into your head, who you let into your life, the things you say about yourself, and the things you say about other people. Because I do believe that there is kind of a magic in that the stuff that you resist isn't going anywhere. And the stuff that you let go of, like the stuff that you articulate, like here's the most embarrassing part of me, here's the darkest, most messed up part of me, here's the whatever, has the opposite effect in my experience personally. I don't know how it works for other people, but for me, it feels like releasing trauma. Now, is anybody interested in watching me release my trauma? I don't know. I have 30,000 views on this bitch. So yeah, some people, I don't know who they are. Maybe they're people who are concerned about me. Maybe there are people who are making fun of me. Maybe there are people who are just clicking the links of me posting my favorite music that's on this service. Um, I don't really know who they are, and it's none of my business who they are. And I had an AA sponsor who gave me the best piece of wisdom I've gotten from an AA sponsor, which is I was thinking like, oh, everybody hates me. And he was just like, dude, everybody doesn't hate you. Nobody cares about you. Like nobody gives a shit. Which at first seemed like, oh, but then I realized like, no, he's 100% right. Nobody cares. Everybody's in their own thing, right? How many people blogging on YouTube did I watch today? I actually watched two. But the idea of like you put out what you get. So it's like, well, how many independent artists am I supporting? I'm actually trying to support independent artists. Um because of this realization. Um Anyway, this has been more than 30 minutes. This has been 35 minutes. I don't think any of that made any sense. Oh, I got a text from Flaccid Penguin. That's a great name. Love you, Flaccid Penguin. You're the reverse though. You got to shut Pisces, not undo Pisces. Although 96 is also a sacred number. But yeah. So okay. I completely forgot what I was talking about. Because I'm ADHD. But CPTSD can look a lot like ADHD. You know what else can look a lot like ADHD? Anxiety disorders. You know what else can look a lot like anxiety disorders? Depression. You know what else can look a lot like depression? Every single thing in the DSM has the same symptoms. Antisocial, emotionally unstable, extreme swings. Like all of these mood disorders, all these intention disorders, all these personality disorders, I think it is no measurement of health to be well adjusted to a society, a wise man once said. And I believe that these are the manifestations, including autism, including these sort of groups of people that are beyond reproach psychiatrically. These addicts that just don't get it. They're fundamentally incapable of being honest with themselves. I don't believe anybody is fundamentally incapable of being honest with themselves. Maybe like serial killers, like sociopaths, like violent sociopaths. Perhaps those people. Although I have my doubts that even those people, if they hadn't figured out a way to heal their trauma properly, couldn't reintegrate somehow in society and find some semblance of peace of mind, some job that serves them. Like go to the army. You're a sociopath? They can't wait to get you in the army. The army's just could use your sociopathy. It'll make you a great general. Be decorated. But yeah, it's not a conversation many people want to have, honestly. And news is unhelpful to consume because it's just this trauma porn. And it's partisan so much from one side or the other that it's indistinguishable from just propaganda. I don't believe Bob Marley died of cancer. 30 years ago, I would have been a Panther. They killed Huey because they knew he had the answer. The views that you hear in the news is propaganda. It's dead press. Oh, so good. Anyway, I'm at 39. That's a multiple of 3. Yeah, that's a good multiple. So anyway, smart Pisces, fresh from the Archdiocese. Shout Cam. Diplomatic immunity, motherfuckers. What about diplomacy? What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Burt Bacharach, man.